So take a few breaths just normally. Start to tune into the way your breath is running up and down your spine. If there's any part of your body that feels tense or a little out of whack, you might set that as your intention today. Or you could choose to develop a particular quality in your practice based on your energy level. Maybe you want to be gentle. Maybe you want to be challenged. Or you could make this a moving prayer for someone or a group of people. So set your intention and let it go. And then we're going to do 4 count inhale, so really strong inhale, 7 count suspension, and 8 count exhale. So exhale everything out. And when you're ready, inhale for 4. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. Really deep. Hold for 7. Exhale 8. And again, swift inhale 4. Hold for 7. Exhale 8. I'm going to let the count go. Just do it on your own. Inhaling 4. Holding 7. And exhaling fully 8. And one more round. Inhale 4. Hold for 7. And exhale 8. And when you finish your exhale, just come back to your normal breathing. And then walk your feet out to the edges of your mat so your feet are wider than your knees. Maybe take your arms out to the side and start to windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Slowly and gently exhaling to one side, pulling the belly in, and then exhaling to the other side. So do that several times. Moving nice and slowly. Just checking in with your body, your quadricep muscles, muscles around your ribs. Keep the neck soft. Maybe one more set. And then draw your knees back up, walk your feet back into neutral, pull your low belly in, and bring your knees into your chest. So either holding your shins or the backs of your thighs. So not too much tugging on the low back yet. Then keep your left knee up, plant your right foot. And then go ahead and extend your left leg out as low as you can without any low back pain. And if you have pain, keep it higher up and a little bit knee bent. But just take it to your edge, or you can do this safely and just hover the leg. A few breaths, feeling all those belly muscles on the left side activating. So what might be interesting is to externally rotate the leg from the hip bone, so turning your toes out. Just noticing how that feels, and then turning them in. Just to notice, and then come on back to neutral. And then pull the left knee into the chest. Just give it a gentle drawing in, a little tug, and then go ahead and plant the left foot. You might already notice the difference one side of the body to the other. So draw the right knee up and then extend the right leg out. So same thing, find a safe place where you can just let it hover and feel those muscles on the right side activating. So the shoulders are still soft. Efforting where you need, but relaxing everything else. So check in with your left leg. Did it flop out? Did the knee flop out? Bring it back in line with your hip. Then allow the toes of your right foot to turn out, so externally rotating the right leg from the hip. And then bring it back to neutral, or maybe turn it in a little bit and see how that feels. And then draw the right knee back into the chest. And exhale, go ahead and plant that foot. So maybe you draw your heels a little bit closer to your hips. Let's bend our elbows today so that our fingers are pointing toward the ceiling like 90 degrees. So we're going to use the backs of the upper arms and the big toes as our major stability points. And then you're going to inhale, lift your hips. Bridge pose. And exhale, drop them down. So we're going to do that several times. Inhale, lift your hips. Keep your knees in line. And exhale, drop them down. So as you do this, make sure that your body weight is centered over both feet. Sometimes we compensate. Inhale, lift your hips. And exhale, drop them down. Keep those feet rooted, elbows rooted. 2 more times. Inhale, lift your hips. And exhale, drop them down. And again, lift your hips. Exhaling, drop down. This one we're going to hold. So inhale, lift your hips. You can keep your arms where they are, or you can interlace your hands underneath you. Tuck your shoulder blades together a little bit more. So wherever you are, we're working on lifting the front body, making the front body longer. And come back to your breath, just simply inhaling and exhaling. Knees still in line with the hips. And exhaling, release your hands if you have them together and go ahead and drop your hips down. Nice. And then draw that left leg back in towards your chest. Hold the back of the thigh and extend the heel toward the ceiling. So we've got those hamstrings warm in that bridge pose. Or just stretch the hamstrings a little bit. So flexibility is just as important, right, as strength. So exhaling, soften the knee, keep the thigh close to the ribs, and inhale, work on straightening the leg. Exhale, softening the knee. And inhale, get longer. One more time, exhaling, soften the knee. Inhale, get longer. Keep that left leg where it is. And if it feels safe with your low back, go ahead and extend the right leg all the way down, pushing that right bottom of the right leg toward the mat. Couple of breaths here. Nice. Bend the right knee, soften the left leg. Take a moment to plant that left foot, just noticing. And then we'll go to the other side. So draw the right knee toward the chest, hold the back of the right thigh, and then extend the right heel to the ceiling. So really working the belly of the muscle. Keep the thigh close to the ribs. Exhaling, soften. Inhaling, straighten. Exhaling, soften. Is the back of the neck still long? Inhaling, straighten. Exhaling, soften. Inhaling, straighten. And then, if you can, stretch that left leg out on the mat. So feel that nice stretch in the left side of the body as well. and gently release. And go ahead and draw both knees into the chest again. Maybe rock a little bit from side to side. So I found one of the hamstring muscles. I found a way to get into. So take your left knee and cross it right over your right leg with your knees really close together. And then I'm going to invite you to, if you can get your hands behind the back of the bottom thigh, the right thigh, right? So it's kind of like when we do pigeon on our backs, but our knees are close together instead of making that number 4. And as you pull your right thigh toward your chest, can you feel that hamstring muscle in the left leg? It's kind of like an outer hamstring rather than an inner. It goes from the hip. And it's not the IT band. It's like right in between the IT band and the belly of the hip, the belly of the hamstring. See if you can find that muscle. So you can actually also do this on your knees in like a cross-legged child's pose. Maybe we'll try that later. So gently release. Hold both the backs of the thighs. Just give the lower legs a little shake. We'll see if we can find it on the other side. So cross the right knee tightly over the left. Hold the back of the left thigh. See if you can pull that right knee close to your chest and find that outer hamstring. Nice, and then gently release. And when you're ready, roll to one side so we can come on back to all fours. So a little more core strengthening, right? Spread your fingers wide. Inhaling, take that left leg out behind you. So for a couple of breaths, flex the foot, toes pointing straight down, just reaching the heel away from the crown of the head. And then you're going to tap that foot on the ground. Say if we're on a clock face at 6 o'clock, then go to 7 o'clock, tap 8 o'clock, tap 9 o'clock, and come back to 6 o'clock and lift the heel. So we're going to do that again. Tap 6 o'clock, tap 7, 8, keep the right side of the body firm, 9, come back to 6, and lift the heel. And then if you want to give yourself a little more challenge, take the right thumb to the ceiling. Bird dog. One of the best and safest core exercises. Pull that low belly in. And exhaling, gently release. Make a little motion that would feel good, rocking your hips from side to side, or maybe even dropping into a child's pose, part of a child's pose. And then we'll go to the other side. So right leg out behind you, lift the heel, flex the foot, get nice and long. And then here we go, tap 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and come back to 6, and lift the heel. Tap 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, back to 6, and lift the heel. Flex that foot, and maybe take the left thumb to the ceiling. Nice. And exhaling, hand and knee back to the mat. Again, making any motion that feels right to you. Maybe it's just rocking the hips from side to side. Maybe you want to rock back towards the child's pose. And then come on back to all fours. We're going to come onto our elbows. Walk your knees back so that you can be in a modified low plank. Right? So my fingertips, or my hands are on the mat. Forearms parallel, fingers spread wide. You could just tuck your tailbone toward your heels, slide your shoulder blades toward your waist, so you're kind of puffing out your chest here between your arms. And you could either stay here on your knees, or you could lift your knees, come onto the tippy toes. This is a good time to give yourself a mental pat on the back for showing up. Take one more deep breath. And exhale. If you are on your toes, float your knees down. So everybody, push the tops of the feet into the mat as you gently drop your hips to the mat in a Sphinx pose. Right? So our first gentle back bend. Just keep lengthening your sternum, puffing your chest out through your upper arms. Nice firm legs. And then exhaling, release your upper body, make a pillow for your head with your hands. So right away we're going to do the lower part of a locust pose. So squeeze your inner thighs together like you have a mermaid tail, and then inhale, lift your heels. So make those legs longer, as straight as they can be. Think about turning your thigh bones inward a little bit. That's going to keep the low back safe. And then exhaling, gently release down and rock your hips from side to side. So let's challenge ourselves a little bit today. Take your fingertips, you can keep your forehead on the ground for a moment. Take your fingertips to the base of your skull and draw your elbows up. So already feeling those back muscles activate. Push your feet into the mat. And then on an inhale, just lift your shoulders, maybe gazing a couple of inches forward. Draw your elbows up, and then exhale, soften forehead back down again. Keep the elbows up though. Inhale, elbows up, shoulders up. Exhale, let the forehead drop, but keep the elbows up. One more time. Inhale, elbows up, shoulders up. Just gaze forward. And exhale, release the hands back down underneath your forehead and rock your hips from side to side again. So that's kind of a true measure of our cobra, right? Not using our hands at all. And then we're going to back floss. So hands under your shoulders, and then lift your fingertips and just keep your fingers spread wide and let them hover. And then inhale, lift your heels. So we're going to scissor open 3 times. Scissor legs open and close. Move with your breath. Inhale, open, draw the elbows to the waist. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. And relax. You can just let your forehead drop and keep your hands under your shoulders. Couple of breaths. All right, then firm up your legs again. Squeeze the inner thighs. Lift your shoulders so that your fingertips hover. And then here we go. Inhaling, lift the heels. And then scissor open and close. And open and close. And open and close. And now make a pillow for your head with your hands and bend your knees. And gently just swish them feet from side to side. So one of the other things that I was catching up on in that basic back care book, so put your hands on your shoulders, we're going to transition to all fours, pull your low belly in, come onto all fours, and just let your spine neutralize for a minute, is that, exercise is, fear is actually really detrimental to our back care, because when we are afraid of the pain and the movement, we're adding cortisol as opposed to exercise, which adds endorphins. There's that natural tranquilizer. So I've got to keep on moving. Okay, we're going to come onto our side for a little side plank and inner thigh work. So stretch one leg out, your bottom leg out, and then cross your top foot over it. So for some reason, this always reminds me of when I was teaching aerobics in the 1980s, Norwalk, Connecticut. On an inhale, you're going to lift your bottom leg. But here's what you got to do. You got to keep it directly in line, because the minute you let that bottom leg come forward and you slump back onto your back hip, you're using your hip flexor instead of your inner thigh. So one long line. Just lift that bottom leg, foot flexed. Keep pushing into your elbow. I'm already shaking a little bit. I guess I'm out of 1980s leg warmer shape. And exhaling, gently release that bottom leg down. So this is a great way to do a modified side plank. Keep your legs right where they are, and inhale, push into your elbow and lift your hips. All right, so that's a nice modification to a side plank. You can float down whenever you need. Try and keep your breath nice and even. And exhaling, gently release. Remember, no pain, right? So if you want to go into side plank on your elbow, or even if you wanted to come up on your hand and do full side plank, you could do that, right? So stack the feet, and then inhale, lift your hips. Or you could be on your bottom knee, right? Good modification there. Maybe you take your top arm to the sky. Think light. And when you're ready, exhaling, gently release. So I'm going to let you roll right back onto your back, so do it safely. Bend your knees, roll back onto your back, and then take your knees to the other side. So we're going to stretch all those muscles we just used in that side plank. Maybe opening up the arm and the shoulder. Just let those muscles that were on the underside of your plank relax. Relaxation is important too. It's a balance. So to come back to neutral, pull your low belly in, bring your knees back toward your chest, maybe rock a little bit from side to side. Another opportunity to just notice the difference. So then we're going to transition to low plank on the other side, so do it safely. I'm going to push myself up to seated, swing my legs around, and come on to the other elbow. So we're going to start with our bottom leg extended and our front leg bent for the 1980s inner thigh work. Remember, you want to keep the leg in line with the spine. Don't bring it forward and inhale, lift the thigh. I mean, it might barely come off the ground, right? You want to stay nice and long in your upper body and tall. Wow. I should do this more often. One more breath. And exhaling, gently release. All right, and if it feels okay for you to just push into that top foot, that bent leg, and inhale, lift your hips. Have a modified side plank. And exhaling, gently release down. And then decide what your full side plank looks like. Maybe it's the bottom knee bent. Maybe it's stacking the feet. Maybe you want to come up onto your hand. And inhaling, lift. So we get there, and we stay there. Come back to that breath. Make that space between your bottom shoulder and your ear a little bit longer. Beautiful. And exhaling, gently release. And once again, we're going to safely roll back onto our back, so just tuck your arm under. So you can roll onto your back, bend your knees, and safely take them to the opposite side. Go still as close to your chest as you can. Kind of adjust the feel and then pull that opposite shoulder back. Good, so pull your low belly in. Once again, drawing your knees into your chest. Rolling to one side so you can safely push yourself up to seated. So if you weren't with us yesterday, we did a seated twist using the wall. So we're going to do it today kind of with the same principles, but sort of free form. So I noticed when we did that yesterday that I felt kind of in those muscles, I guess it would be maybe the glute medius muscles high up that where they felt a little bit weak. So I've got one leg bent, right? I'm going to sit up really, really tall. I'm not even crossing my legs today, right? You could if you want, but you don't have to. And then we're going to take that twist toward your leg. You can hold on to the knee, outer knee for now. Right, so go deep into your twist. You can put your bottom hand down for now. So use your inner thighs. So see if you can hold where you are in this twist, but extend your front arm, right? So the arm that was holding the knee, just straight out off your back. So it's pretty much in line with the extended leg. Just notice what core muscles you need to do that. So release that hand back to the knee. Sit up really, really tall. Remember, sit on a block if you're having trouble keeping your spine straight and your pelvis neutral. And maybe extend the back arm. This is where I felt it, right down in that hip. Like I needed to get stronger here. Shouldn't be any pain though, right? So if you really wanted to challenge yourself, try and stay all upright right where you are and do both arms. Now that'll do it. And exhaling, gently release. Go ahead and turn that knee that's bent, foot to the inner thigh, and just sit up really, really tall. And on an exhale, fold forward. So Janu Sasana, just relaxing those muscles in the back of the pelvis. Couple of breaths here. You could let your head drop all the way over if you want. Hold your thigh or the shin, or maybe you go for your foot. Pull the low belly in. Come on back up. Stretch that bent leg out. Take a moment in Dandasana. Feeling all of that space and strength and confidence. And then we'll go to the other side. I'm just going to turn around so I don't have my back to you. So second side on that seated twist. Sit up tall. Use your inner thighs. You can hold on to that bent leg. Support yourself. See how that feels. So using your inner thighs, keep yourself upright. Maybe release that front arm so it's parallel to your leg. Keep your twist. Nice. And hold the knee again. Sit up tall. Try the back arm. And maybe try both arms. Breathe, you can do this. Just get long and light. Everything rising up through the crown of the head. And exhaling, release. Good work. And that was definitely work. So let that knee open up, adjusting where you need. And on an exhale, start to fold yourself forward. Maybe your head drops. And inhale, using those hands and your low belly muscles to bring yourself back up to seated. So come to this easy seated position. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down a few times. And then bring your hands to your knees and just drop your chin to your chest. Just want to make sure that we haven't built any tension around the shoulder girdle. On an inhale, take one ear to your shoulder. The nose is still pointing forward. Shoulders level, just a couple breaths here. And then exhaling, chin to the chest. Take the other ear to your shoulder. Drop the chin to the chest and come on back to neutral. Got a couple of other poses to offer. So the first one is going to be puppy dog, right? Kind of a nice upper body stretch if you come onto all fours. The goal here is to keep your elbows lifted. So you're going to walk your hands forward, arms straight, knees stay over the hips, and just gently dropping your chest toward the mat. So maybe your forehead drops to the mat or to a block. Keep lifting your elbows, just like we do in down dog, shining the soft part of the elbow toward the ceiling. Couple of breaths here. If you're feeling super bendy, you could maybe lift your head and drop your chin to the chin to the floor. So just any wiggling or shifting that would feel good, just do it safely. And pull your low belly in and use your arm strength to bring yourself back up to all fours. So the last one is I mentioned that, that stretch we did with that funny hamstring muscle, that you could do this in child's pose. So options here. You could try this with me, or you could do a regular pigeon pose on your knees or on your back. If you're on your back, you make that number 4, crossing one leg over the other. If you want to try this funky cross-legged child's pose, just cross one leg over the other, just like we did on our backs. And as you rock your hips back toward that other heel, your top knee is going to come off the mat. And you might feel it in that funny hamstring muscle right there under your hip. Like I said, you could do a traditional pigeon pose if you prefer. You can do a little of both. So if you want to do pigeon pose on this side, go ahead and transition now safely, right? So you're going to take that top knee out toward your wrist. Back leg straight back, keeping your body weight on the midline. You could fold forward if you want, or not. And then safely transition to the other side, whatever you're doing. So if it's pigeon on your back, or cross-legged child's pose, traditional pigeon, right? This just might not work for everybody, right? The knees, the hips, know, not to cross our legs if we've done the hip replacement thing. Right. Few breaths here. So if you want to transition from this child's pose to traditional pigeon, try that now. Do any other pose your body might be asking for to finish up. Nice. So safely come out of whatever it is you're doing. So I suggested you have a blanket or pillows, or you can roll up your mat. So if you don't have a blanket or pillows available, this is the time to come off your mat and roll it up like a Tootsie Roll. So another option is if you wanted a little bit more of a challenge would be 2 yoga blocks and a blanket over them. It's just not going to be as cushy. But you want to put your pelvis about 6 inches away from the base of your prop. And then you're going to slowly and gently roll yourself down onto it. So you want your head supported by the prop as well, not hanging off the back. You could do this really just with your 2 yoga blocks if you have them. And then if it feels safe for your low back, just go ahead and straighten your legs out. So if you keep your thigh bones turned inward, a little bit pigeon-toed from the hips, it's going to keep your sacrum, your low back nice and wide. If that's not really a concern, then you can just let your legs completely relax. So this is going to be our Shavasana today. If it doesn't feel right for you, go ahead and settle into what does. So come back to that intention that you set, trusting that it's been accomplished. Give yourself another pat on the back for showing up. So it would feel okay for you to begin to get moving. Maybe take your arms over your head. Stretch them out. You can release the fingers and release your index fingers. Be gentle, right? Maybe you just do cactus arms. Just getting into those upper back muscles a little bit more. So then to come off your prop, if your legs are stretched out, bend your knees. Lift your hips a little bit. Shift them to one side and then take your knees the other direction to safely roll off your prop, right to the side. Maybe rest just for a moment there in that embryo pose. Charles Swindoll says that consistency is the jewel worth wearing, the anchor worth weighing, it's the thread worth weaving, it's a battle worth winning. When you're ready, gently pushing yourself up to seated. Taking a moment to feel your body and the length in your spine, softness in your shoulders. On an inhale, bring your hands to your heart center. Hats off to you for showing up and being consistent. The Spirit in me honors the Spirit in each of you. Namaste.